People assume they know what makes a Sigma male happy. Give him freedom, money, silence, or time alone, and that should be enough, right? But that view only scratches the surface. Sigma males are far more complex than the lone wolf label suggests. He doesn't follow society's idea of success or pleasure. He doesn't need loud approval, flashy status, or group validation. What he looks for, what actually brings him real joy, often goes unnoticed by most people. And that's exactly why it matters. A Sigma male may look hard to read from the outside. He keeps his feelings to himself. He doesn't post his every move. But behind that quiet surface is a man who feels deeply, thinks endlessly, and values moments that others often overlook. What surprises people is that the things that make him truly happy don't involve power, attention, or control. They're not the typical signs of joy you see online. In fact, the things that make him feel most alive usually come in silence, solitude, or in a conversation that lasts hours with someone who finally gets him. This isn't about being better than others. It's about being built differently. The Sigma male operates on an internal rhythm. He moves toward meaning, not noise. And when he finds something that connects to his core, it lights him up in a way most people never see. That's why we're looking at the unexpected things. The subtle joys. The quiet moments. The ones you won't find in motivational speeches or viral videos, but that matter deeply to him. Here are the things that genuinely make a Sigma male happy, even if he never says them out loud. Reason number 1. Deep, meaningful conversations over small talk. The Sigma male has no interest in shallow conversation. He doesn't want to hear about the weather, gossip, or meaningless updates. That kind of talk drains him. It pulls him into a world he tries to stay far away from. But sit him down with someone who can go deep, someone who asks real questions, who listens, who challenges his ideas, and something changes. He lights up. Not with excitement, but with connection. He spent years thinking about life, people, purpose, and the human condition. These aren't just ideas to him. They're part of how he moves through the world. When someone is willing to explore those thoughts with him, it feels like finding oxygen after holding his breath for too long. He enjoys talking about things most people avoid. Why people change. What drives someone's decisions. How society shapes us. What love really means. These aren't small subjects, but they're exactly the kind of topics that make him feel alive. The best part? He doesn't need to be agreed with. He doesn't look for people to match his views. What he really wants is someone honest, someone curious, someone willing to sit in the unknown and think through it with him. When those rare conversations happen, time disappears. Hours feel like minutes. He may not talk often, but when he finds someone worth opening up to, he gives them his full mind. And in return he finds peace. There's something deeply satisfying about exchanging real thoughts with someone who understands. It makes him feel seen without being exposed. It makes him feel connected without being tied down. These moments are rare. That's why they matter so much. They remind him that even in a world full of noise, there are still people who care about what's real. And for a Sigma male, that's not just a good moment, that's happiness. Reason number 2, observing life from quiet spots. You'll find the Sigma male sitting alone in the park, standing quietly at the edge of a busy street, or watching the world from a rooftop at dusk. To someone else, he might look bored. But he's not. He's fully alive in that moment, soaking in the world without needing to control it. One of the things that makes a Sigma male truly happy is simply watching life unfold. No performance. No conversation. just observation. The way people move, the sounds of the wind, the light bouncing off windows. These details feed his mind in a way that nothing else can. He doesn't always want to participate. That doesn't mean he feels left out. It means he enjoys seeing the world without being dragged into it. From a quiet spot, he can see patterns, feel moods, and think without pressure. These moments are like meditation for him. He processes everything in silence. Thoughts, memories, emotions. He doesn't need noise to feel involved. He just needs stillness. Most people need constant activity to feel connected. But the Sigma male finds meaning in pauses. He might sit in a coffee shop with no phone, just watching strangers pass. Or take long drives with no destination, just thinking. These simple acts bring him clarity and comfort. There's no need to explain or prove anything in these moments. That's part of what makes them special. He doesn't need to justify his presence. He just exists, and that's enough. These quiet observations aren't about escape. They're about reflection. And reflection is where he finds understanding, not only about the world, but about himself. That feeling of peace, of not having to perform or respond, is one of the most honest forms of happiness he knows. And that's why he returns to it again and again, no matter where life takes him. Reason number 3, creative or solitary projects with purpose. One of the most fulfilling things in a Sigma male's life is working on something meaningful, alone. Not for approval. Not for money. Just for the simple reason that it matters to him. It could be writing, coding, sketching, building something from scratch, or even learning a skill in complete silence. The task doesn't have to be grand. It just has to be real. There's a joy that comes from creating something on his own terms. When he's locked in on a project, time vanishes. His mind focuses. His senses sharpen. And the outside world fades into the background. It's not just productive, it's peaceful. While others might get bored without an audience, the Sigma male thrives in solitude. He finds pride in private progress. Every step forward, every problem solved, every challenge met, it all fuels him. He doesn't need applause. The satisfaction comes from within. This kind of work isn't driven by pressure. It's driven by purpose. That purpose doesn't have to make sense to anyone else. It could be personal, strange, or even hard to explain. But it gives him a sense of control over his life. A way to shape the world in his own way, no matter how small. Even when no one's watching, he gives it his full focus. That focus is where his mind feels most free. The silence, the structure, the ability to move at his own pace, all of it brings him into a state of flow. And when he finishes something, whether it's a line of code, a song, a chapter, or a new design, he doesn't show it off. He just sits with it. Sometimes he'll share it. Most times he won't. But in that moment he's happy. Genuinely happy. For a Sigma male, progress means more than praise. Creating something alone, with purpose, gives him something the outside world can't give him. It gives him a sense of meaning, a reason to keep moving, and a moment where everything makes sense. Reason number 4, unconditional acceptance without pressure. The Sigma male may look like he doesn't care what people think, but deep down he cares a lot. He just doesn't show it the way others do. He's spent most of his life misunderstood, misread, or expected to be something he's not. That's why one of the things that makes him happiest is finding someone who accepts him exactly as he is. He doesn't want to be fixed. He doesn't want to be improved. He just wants to be seen and allowed to exist in his natural state, quiet, thoughtful, private. When someone gives him that space without judgment, it hits him harder than words ever could. He's used to being told he's too distant, too quiet, too hard to read. People want him to be more open, more talkative, more like everyone else. But when someone lets go of all that and simply sits with him, without trying to change him, it gives him a deep sense of peace. This kind of acceptance isn't loud. It's not full of compliments or dramatic support. It's calm. It's consistent. It looks like being okay with silence. Being okay with different opinions. Being okay with not always knowing what he's thinking. When someone accepts him like that, he begins to trust. Slowly. Carefully. And that trust brings a level of happiness that he rarely shows. It lets him breathe. It lets him be. In those rare connections, he opens up more than usual. Not because he's pressured to, but because he feels safe. And in that safety, he finds something rare, happiness without performance. He doesn't need big gestures. He just needs to be allowed to exist without being reshaped. That's the kind of acceptance that reaches his core. And when he finds it, he doesn't forget it. Reason number 5, witnessing growth in someone he cares about. The Sigma male doesn't form a lot of close relationships. But when he does, he takes them seriously. He watches, listens, and invests quietly in the people he trusts. And one of the things that brings him the deepest happiness is watching those people grow. He may not be the most expressive person. He may not always know how to say what he feels. But when he sees someone close to him overcome a challenge, level up in life, or heal from something painful, it genuinely affects him. He doesn't just watch from a distance. Often he's played a role behind the scenes, offering support, giving advice, or just being there when no one else was. He never makes it about himself. But when that person begins to thrive, he feels something powerful, silent pride. This happiness comes from watching transformation. Not forced change, but real growth. Whether it's a friend finding confidence, a partner reaching a goal, or even a family member becoming more self-aware, the Sigma male feels the impact. He doesn't need recognition. In fact, he avoids it. But knowing that his quiet support helped someone get stronger, smarter, or more at peace, it hits him deeply. Sometimes he'll say nothing. Just a nod. A smile. A simple, good job. But inside he's proud. Not because he owns their success, but because he believes in their journey. He understands how hard growth can be. That's why he respects it so much. Watching someone he cares about rise, not for show, not for others, but for themselves, is something that makes him genuinely happy. Reason number 6, silence, stillness, and true solitude. Most people see silence as something to fill, a gap to cover, an awkward space that needs sound. But for the Sigma male, silence isn't empty. It's full. Full of clarity, full of meaning, full of peace. True solitude is not the same as loneliness. Loneliness is feeling alone when you don't want to be. Solitude is choosing to be alone because that's where you find yourself again. And that choice brings the Sigma male a deep kind of happiness that's hard to explain. When everything gets quiet, when the phone is off, the door is closed, and the noise of the world fades away, that's when he feels most in tune with himself. In those moments, he doesn't need to think about who he's supposed to be. He doesn't have to wear any mask. He just is. It's in that stillness that he finds answers. Not always clear ones, but honest ones. He reflects on the past, processes the present, and imagines the future. All without distraction. All without pressure. Some people fear that kind of space. They rush to fill it with sound, screens, or company. But the Sigma male runs toward it. It resets him, centers him, grounds him. It's where he heals. He could be sitting on a quiet bench, lying on the floor with his eyes closed, or taking a long walk through empty streets. These are the moments that feed his soul, not because of what happens in them, but because of what doesn't. There's no need to explain himself in solitude. No one is asking questions. No one is judging. No one is pulling him in different directions. It's just him, breathing, thinking, existing, and that, for him, is a gift. These moments don't have to last long. Sometimes even 10 minutes of silence is enough. But when he gets them, something inside him softens. He feels light, free, at peace. And in a world that never seems to shut up, that's a rare and powerful kind of happiness. Sigma males don't look happy in the ways most people expect. They don't laugh loudly in crowds or throw big celebrations. They don't post every good moment or share every feeling. Their happiness is quiet, subtle, often invisible. But that doesn't make it any less real. It lives in the conversations that go deeper than most people can handle. It lives in the still corners of life where reflection replaces distraction. It lives in projects built with care, trust that asks for nothing, and connections that feel like home without noise or pressure. These things may seem small to others, but to the Sigma male they mean everything. Because happiness for him isn't about excitement. It's about alignment. Being in the right place, in the right way, with the right energy, inside and out. He doesn't chase happiness. He creates space for it. And that space is made of silence, truth, depth, and purpose. So if you ever wonder what makes a Sigma male smile to himself when no one's looking, now you know. It's not about winning. It's not about being seen. It's about peace. And sometimes peace looks like a quiet room, a deep thought, and the simple feeling of finally being understood, even if only by himself.